Welcome to the Relaxed Dog Podcast, the podcast where the dogs are the stars of the show. Welcome to episode 50, woohoo, of the Relaxed Dog Podcast, sponsored by therelaxeddog.com. Welcome back, everyone, and hello to new listeners. I am your host, Robert Ober, and I hope that you and your dog are well. Well, who would have thought we'd get to episode 50? I'd like to say thank you very much to all the great guests that I've had on the show so far, and all the especially awesome dogs that have been the topics of discussion on the show. I'd like to thank again each one of you listening, putting up with my goofiness, but also giving me the inspiration to keep on putting out stories of the fantastic dogs that we share our lives with. Thank you. This week, my guest from the UK is Nikki Glover. But first, in some doggy news, in Michigan in the US a couple of years ago, a Labrador Retriever mix by the name of Sheldon was enrolled in service dog school, where he wasn't the best student because he was always being distracted. So he basically flunked out of service dog school and was almost immediately picked up by the arson dog program, where he has since been excelling in the detection of any accelerants used in the fires that they have investigated. So, well done. Still in the US, researchers in Washington State University recently did a trial where they recruited just over 300 stressed students. They then put them in 3 different groups and did different stress management programs. One of them was to hang out with dogs and pat them. Amazingly, they found that after 4 weeks, the students that were patting the dogs had improved cognitive skills and were staying calmer while addressing their issues. I think that's something that all of us dog owners already knew. And in Estonia, a couple of young guys that were near the Pärnu River, which was partially ice covered, noticed that there was an animal in distress. They assisted the animal getting it to shore, and then they wrapped it up in some towels and took it to the local dog pound. When they arrived there, the vet told the guys that it actually wasn't a dog, but a wolf that they had brought in. The vets then made sure the wolf was all right. They let it warm up a little bit, and then they released it back into the wild later in the day. And now to this week's interview. Welcome to the Relaxed Dog Podcast. I'm here with Nikki Glover. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's 9 p.m. in the UK, and yeah, I've had a lovely day in the sunshine. Thank you.
Great to hear. Great to hear that it's been the sunshine there.
I know. Finally, we've just had rain for like the last month, so yeah, we've had our summer now. That's it. So we're into the autumn.
We'll relate to that. We're just in tomorrow starting our first official day of winter here.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Because, when it's Christmas, you're in the summer, aren't you?
Yes.
So, That's crazy.
The way the world turns.
Yeah.
So
no, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, look, it's absolute pleasure. And I understand we're going to be talking about Freya today.
Yes, Freya. Yeah, she's just with me. She's got her head on my lap, praying for sausages. And you know, got them in my pocket for bribery.
So, as per usual, I'm going to ask you to take us back in time just before you and Freya got together and talk us into the hows and whys that eventuated.
Okay, so I think it was, when was it? It was back in 2015. I'm an ecologist, so I study like the interaction between organisms and the environment, and any sort of construction activities. I have to look at how they'll impact these interactions, specifically for like protected species. So we do a lot of things with like reptiles, amphibians like great crested newts, badgers, otters, water voles, everything. But yeah, I was on a construction site and we were looking for reptiles at the time. And I was just like, there's got to be a better way to, find these reptiles before obviously the construction starts. And we do things like we put like reptile mats down to move them, but there's some tricky sort of areas that we could have used like another tool. I was thinking, there must be a better way. And that evening I went home and on the doorstep there was a magazine, CIE magazine, and I opened it up and there was a story on a lady called Louise Wilson who was doing back carcass detection with detection dogs. And I thought, wow, that's incredible, like using a dog's nose to find these back carcasses. So I thought, this would be a really interesting thing to go into, especially for like reptiles or amphibians. So I kind of went down that route and I started researching it, what sort of dogs would be suitable. I saw like sort of gun dog type breed would be good. So I started begging my partner. I was like, can we have a puppy? He was like, no, over again, no. And he got to a point, he was that fed up of me asking. He just went, fine. I was like, great, I've already booked a viewing. I went, it was in North Devon. So I went to see this lovely little litter of puppies. And Freya there was just two dogs left. There was a really timid one and then a really sort of boisterous girl. And I thought, for a detection work, you kind of want the really boisterous, confident dog. So we thought we'll go with her. And it kind of worked from there, really. So I knew sort of working a dog is best sort of around 2 years old. So I just kind of developed her. And then when she got to a point, I just, got in touch with Louise Wilson of Conservation Canine Consultancy. And she basically assessed myself and Freya to see if we'd be suitable for detecting great crested newts. So they're amphibian species that we have in the UK, and they're protected under UK and European legislation. So it's an offence to kill or injure great crested newts and damage and destroy their habitat. So I thought, and they're really tricky species to find using conventional tools. So I thought having a dog would be incredible because they can detect, below ground and everything, which is where they refuge during the terrestrial season. I was holding my breath, hoping that, myself and Freya would pass this assessment, see whether we would be good at it. And she passed with flying colours. I needed a bit of work, but and it's kind of just gone from there, really. We managed to get our licence to detect great crested newts. It's really tricky because we have a good governing body called Natural England, and I had to jump through a million hoops in order to get this licence to use Freya to detect the species, because it's a very innovative tool. In Australia, I think you've been using conservation dogs now for probably about over 20 years. In the UK, it's very new and not many people know about it. Mm-hmm. There's a few companies that have been doing it for probably the past 10 years, I think. It's still sort of, people are like, oh, can they, but every sort of other area, explosive detection drugs, they're like, yeah, dogs are amazing, blah, blah. But when it comes to conservation, they're like, oh, can they do that? It's like more natural than detecting like explosive or drugs and things. So we kind of went down that route and managed to get the licensing finally. And it's kind of gone from there. So my employer, Wessex Water, they fund a lot of the work that I do with Freya. They're really supportive. And I use her so we have like pipeline routes. So usually if we're working within 250 metres of breeding ponds, where the great crested newts are sort of between mid-March to July. And then they come out terrestrially the rest of the year to like forage and refuge underground and under log piles, rock piles. So we have to fence off the area that we're constructing. And then we have to trap the area out and get the great crested newts out of where we're constructing and move them to a safe location. And this can take a while to do, but with a dog, it's like a beneficial tool because she can detect, any newts that haven't necessarily fallen into these pitfall traps. And if it's warm as well, they might not necessarily move about above ground. Mm-hmm. So, Freya can detect them sort of below ground. And we found a couple on a translocation site that we're doing at the moment, and none of them have fallen into pitfall traps yet. So, she's a really useful tool. But so
I was going to say that's right. For a species detection dog, that's and I don't know much about the great crested newts in the UK, but it was seems like a very specific type work to do. And I was thinking, well, how much work is there to do? But then when you mentioned that you're working for a company that lays a lot of pipe going through their environment, that makes perfect sense, because I'm guessing there's a lot of pipeline that they're constantly rolling out.
So we can, it's a very linear route. So the most species we tend to impact are great crested newts. So that's kind of why I went down that route with her. Because I got her initially, I was like, I'm not really sure what I'll do. And then, I kind of ended up working for Wessex Water. And I was like, okay, great crested newt seems the logical route, but it is so difficult. It's one of the hardest species to detect because they're quite moist species and they're underground, and they move, and they tend to come up above ground and forage when it's warm and wet. So a lot of my training is done at night when it's absolutely pouring it down. I'm the only one who's like sat there when it's raining, just going, let's go out, let's go train. And we had such a dry April, and I was like, oh no, this is awful. And then it got really wet in May, and I was like, this is great. The newts are loving it, all out above ground foraging, and it just makes it easier then. She can detect when they're underground, but then I have to get my little shovel out and try and get them out, which is a nightmare. But when it's nighttime, they're above ground. It's a lot easier to use then. Instead of her indicating, going, honestly, it's here. I'm like, I just have to trust you. I'm not getting the shovel out and digging for like 2 hours to confirm.
So would she be the only newt detection dog over in the UK, or?
No, there's another company, Wagtail Conservation Dogs. They've been running for quite a few years now. So they sort of did the initial. So my trainer, Louise Wilson, she used to start up that company, and she was the first person to train great crested newt detection dogs, and then she set up her own business. Wagtails have continued sort of using their newt dog. I think they've been pretty successful as well. So it is a hard line of work to go down. It takes a lot of commitment and it's something you can't learn on a very short course. I'm still learning now. I'm like 4 years down, and every season, because we have 6 months where it's winter, and the newts will be hibernating and they won't move or anything. And I can't really get a license to obviously disturb them when they're hibernating for welfare reasons. So we have 6 months where I can't really use dogs. But I do have captive newts that I can train with, inside, or if the weather's all right, I can train that outside with them. I've forgotten where I was going with this. There we go. We have 6 months where we can't do anything, and then we have to start up again in spring. So I have to maintain that fitness throughout the winter to then be right back into it. Like spring is probably the spring and autumn time is one of the main times that they're really active and they're moving around everywhere. They're trying to get to the breeding ponds, and then they come out of the breeding ponds and then they kind of go to ground for a bit. And then, sort of September, October, they'll come back up again. They're really active again, trying to eat as much as they can before hibernation. So it is tricky to maintain that fitness and try and understand what their ecology is doing throughout the entire year. Just so I can make sure Freya's like properly trained for all these different sort of scenarios. And also getting her used to like working around diggers and, construction vehicles and men in high vis and things like that, and making sure I maintain, calmness around that sort of environment as well. Because as a handler, like, she's very connected to me. She mirrors me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She's like the dog version of me. She's like one in a million. Like, if I ever think anything, she kind of knows what I'm thinking, or she knows if I'm a bit nervous, or she kind of acts a bit weirdly, and I'm like, oh no, I have to, pretend that I'm not nervous. So she's great. She's incredible. But she does kind of pick up on very sort of like slight behavioural changes in me, and will kind of mirror it slightly. So,
right. So I'm just going to go back for a little while. How was she like when you first brought her home as a pup?
Yeah, she's brilliant. She's so intelligent. She's a really intelligent dog. I think she's got a little bit of collie in her. She just really picks up on things. She was really good. She learned things so quickly. We didn't try not to do too much obedience with her, because really, as for like detection, conservation detection work, we like them to have like an element of wild to them. So I did sort of basic stuff like sit, stay, and that was about it really. But she's been really an incredible dog. She's like a one in a million. I don't think I'll ever have another dog like Freya.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 2 boys now, and they're completely doing their rescues as well. So they're incredible, and they're so affectionate, I think, because obviously they've had abusive past. So they just really cuddle up to me. So I'll have like my 2 rescue boys with me, and then Freya will be on the other sofa just stretched out like, I don't need like the space and stuff like that. So, but she's a very independent dog, and she knows what she wants, and she knows how to get it, and like that. But,
so she's been inside from the start?
Sorry?
She's been an indoor dog from the start?
Yeah, so I don't kennel them. She's I would say, I guess she's kind of pet dog-ish. Well, kind of. I guess she's working dog. And then at home, when we're not working, she cuddles up on the sofa. She can go upstairs and do what she likes. It's kind of, she's a princess at home. So she's better than me. She gets everything, really.
Mm-hmm.
You're a queen.
Does she have what sort of favourite games and things like that does she like?
Our scent work is, she just loves using her nose. And then her favourite reward is a tennis ball as well. She absolutely loves the tennis ball. Although I've just recently got this orange sort of plastic ball thing, and she absolutely loves that. I think that's overtaken a tennis ball now. So that's like her high value reward. But we don't really do too much of anything else. It is mainly just wildlife detection that we do. But you love it, don't you? So I keep talking to the dog. That's all right.
So how old was she when you first started sort of introducing her to newts?
So I first initially, when I started the first training course, she was 2. That was with Louise. And we put her on bed bugs because they have a very small scent cone, just like great crested newts. And they're really quite difficult to detect. So we thought, we'll challenge her. So we did that. And then I applied for my license when Louise said, you both have potential. Got it rejected because, I kind of went in blind, didn't really know what they wanted. And then, they said, you need to do this, 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 and this, like massive long list. I was like, right, okay, at least I know now what I need to do. So I went back and, so we managed to get the license after a year. So she's probably she was 3 years old by the time we managed to secure the license. And then it took about a year to do sort of the initial baseline training with her. And then she went operational when she was 4 and started working on pipeline schemes, construction stuff, which was a massive jump from doing training. So I basically had access to this guy's garden in Somerset, and he has a really nice population of great crested newts there. And I was allowed to keep 4 captive. I had 2 males, 2 females. And we did a lot of sort of association training, and then we did training where the newts were sort of up and out of the ground, on the ground and in the grassland and things like that. And then we did like wild training where the newts hadn't been disturbed. They're literally just walking around. And and then daytime surveys, so when they were refuging, in rock piles, dog piles, things like that, to see whether she could get that. And then when she was ready, then we could move her then on to operational. But like I say, it's more distractions, because there was like the first site I took her on, there was like a 12-ton massive, digger excavator there, and she'd never seen one in her life. And I was trying to get her to work, and she was just like, what the hell is going on? All these men in high vis, just, I was just like, why isn't she working properly? And I spoke to Louise, and she's like, well, you've just, we've gone from a nice, quiet, lovely orchard garden, in the middle of Somerset, no distraction to like, everything going on, and, putting that pressure on her. And so it just took a bit of training. Now she's fine. She's absolutely fine with it. But it's just such a big jump.
I suppose with
from training to operational, and it just takes time and a lot of training in my own time.
I suppose with the machinery, particularly the diesel smell, that would really sort of make a bit of big impact on things.
Yeah, I don't work her too close to machinery, obviously, for welfare reasons and safety and things like that. So we had this fencing up, and it was coming out at the time. So I had to work her along this fence line. So it's a barrier to stop newts from getting inside the construction area. We'd finished all the work, so we literally just pulling the fencing up. So we just had to check whether the newts that had gone down into the side of the fencing. I just had to run her along, and then I'd say, right, okay, she's not indicated. You can start pulling up the fencing. Then they'll come along and slowly pull up the rest of the fencing. So she was working relatively close, but not like right next to it. So it didn't affect her smell too much.
So that would be a fairly intense sort of exercise, because am I right that the newts, they don't grow all that big, do they?
So it's the biggest species we have in the UK. It gets to about 17 centimetres. Mm-hmm. We have 2 other species, smooth and palmate newts, and then we have like a non-native species, alpine newt, as well. We've done discrimination trials as well. So last year, I'm doing a Masters by Research at Salford University. I'm working with Dr. Robert Yell, who does he's amazing. He's done loads of amphibians research and done a lot of radio tracking studies on great crested newts. So he's been really interested in having the use of a dog to find out a bit more about their ecology, what they do on land, because there's so much we don't know about them. It's been an incredible sort of journey. So we did discrimination trials where we basically did this lineup, and we put out smooth newts, palmate newts, we put toads, frogs, gloves, anything we kind of used during training, and then a great crested newt randomly in this setup. I didn't know where the newt was, because obviously I could be biased and sort of influence where Freya would indicate. So we ran her along, and she's really successful at that. She managed to pinpoint the newt, the great crested newt, in comparison to everything else. And when we've been out operationally, there's been like smooth newts, palmate newts just walking around, no interest whatsoever. No. Obviously with frogs and toads jumping a bit, she's like, oh, what is that? But it's not an indication. It's just like, oh, that's interesting.
So on in the environment where they're laying the pipe, on average, how often would Freya actually find newts?
It's a bit hit and miss. So this one, we have done is, depends when we put the exclusion fencing in. So we put it in when the newts are kind of in the pond breeding. And we're right next to, very close to the pond, but the timing of year, they're not really migrating out of the pond, and we're not, where we're putting the pipeline is not in between two ponds, so they tend to migrate between ponds. So we've kind of just put it to the side, and for that one, we've only had a couple inside the translocation, in the construction area. None have fallen into the pitfall traps, but I ran her along the outside of the fencing last week, and we managed to find one butted up against sort of the exclusion fencing, which shows how good it works, stopping them from actually getting into the construction site. But then we had a scheme last year, and there was about 30 great crested newts, but we did that one later on in the year, so they were already out of the pond, and it was really nice rough grassland. They were already set up in their sort of terrestrial environment. It just depends on the time of year when you're kind of doing the activities, I find.
So I'm guessing also with the environment that Freya is all right with water and rain and puddles and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. That was an important factor. We had to make sure that all the dogs I work are happy with the rain, because that's when I have to work. So yeah, she's absolutely fine with the rain, to be honest. The only thing it is hard doing newts because a lot of the work is at night, and the scent is suppressed anyway at night. It's quite low to the ground for what we know. And especially when it rains as well, it's even more, like the scent cone's even smaller than what it would be if it's warmer, and sort of the scent sort of evaporating a bit more. So it is sort of challenging, and I have to train her in all these sorts of environments. So when it's warmer, when it's cold, when it's raining, and make sure she's still effective during all these different types of elements, and then different types of vegetation as well. Because newts will love like tussocky grassland, but that could be quite hard to find them. If the newts sort of the scent might be quite suppressed inside that grassland, or it might sort of cling up to the sides of the grassland, so she might have a better chance of finding it. So I find when they're out just moving around, I'll see it, I'll clock it, and it might take her a little while to she can smell it, and she's just trying to figure out, and the wind's kind of moving the scent around a little bit, and the scent's just kind of pouring out, and she's just like, where exactly? It's lovely watching her journey, but when it's in a sort of tusky grassland, sometimes she's a bit more effective at finding it in that sort of scenario, because I don't know, the scent kind of clings maybe to stuff, and she's like, oh, okay, there it is, and sort of drops down into her lie down indication. So it's fascinating just watching them, like how different sort of habitats and factors can influence detectability rates. We're doing, I'm hoping I'm going to start PhD sort of the end of the year, and one of our studies is looking at soil type. So great crested newts spend a lot of time underground, so we want to know how the soil type kind of influences the scent movement. So we're looking at two different soil types. So we're looking at sandy soil, which is quite porous, and then we're looking at clay soil, which is completely contrasting characteristics, and it's got a lot of water in it. So we're going to be putting newts in sort of humane sort of ways. I can't really go much into the details yet. But so we're going to be looking at how effective she is at being able to detect that scent in these different sort of soil types, which is going to be really fascinating. They've done similar studies on human remains as well, and dogs have been able to detect human remains, down 2 meters underground. But newts I think they have less, like a short, smaller scent cone than human remains, because that's sort of a bigger scent cone in comparison. But
would she being used? I know you mentioned a few times that the newts in the ponds, is she used to detect when you find the ponds, if there's newts in the water?
Not yet, although Nikki got his license this year, and we were out training last week, and he indicated on a paving slab, and I lifted it up, and there was a newt in shallow water under the paving slab, and he was still able to detect that. Fully in the water, we would have to properly train for that. I know they do like whale scat and all sorts. Like I think they do human remains underwater as well. So I think there's Ilka Miller. He's an incredible guy. He does a lot of detection work, and he does a lot of training on trying to find things under the water. And my trainer Louise said it is possible we could potentially train her to do that. That would be handy, to be honest. But we have other methods where we have like eDNA sampling, so it's not necessarily cause for it at the minute. It would be quite handy, but there's I guess with eDNA we would have to send off the samples, and there's a waiting time, whereas the dogs could just indicate spare down at the pond, and that would save a lot of time. But we could kind of go into that sort of area as well. That would just be more sort of training, getting the newts sort of underwater and getting her to sort of get the scent as it comes out of the water.
She enjoys things like swimming naturally, or?
We try not to do too much, to be honest, just because it's not great for the newts if the dog's always in the water disturbing everything.
Okay. Yep.
I mean, it's great physically, for them for swimming, but we try not to get her too obsessed with getting in that water, just because it can disturb everything, and it's just not great for the welfare of the species inside the pond, so we try not to
that's
too much enough. And keep her sort of out on the outskirts.
So going back to her at home, how old was she when you got when she got her first brother, so to speak?
She was, so when we first got our first newt license, she was 3. Yeah, she didn't like it at all. We brought him home and she was like, "When's he going?" She did not like it at all. And poor Nuki, he still loves her. He like just looks at her like, "Oh, I love you so much," and she's just like, "Nah, I don't need you." I think Freya doesn't think she's a dog sometimes. I think she doesn't really like play in too much with dogs. If she does, she kind of doesn't interact too much with it. So Nuki will be constantly like dragging her across the floor, having a great time, and she'll just be laying there, just being dragged. So I don't think she was such, she was an only dog for a few years, and she loved that. She got all the attention, and then we got Nuki, and
how old was he?
We got Obi, and
how old was he roughly when he came in?
He was 18 months.
Okay.
He was. We think he was abused. Bless him. He was really shut down. It's taken a lot to kind of get him out of his shell, and he didn't really know how to play as well. So he would play, but he wouldn't play with me. He wouldn't interact with humans as much. He was very soft in his mouth as well. Like he just wouldn't want to sort of engage. So it's taken a lot to try and get him really and he loves it now. He absolutely loves playing. As soon as you get a tennis ball out or anything, he is just on it. And he loves searching. He loves using his nose. He's always loved using his nose, but now he enjoys like that play aspect as well. So it's taken a little while, but it's been really rewarding. Having rescues is an incredible rewarding thing. And we've got Obi now, who's about 8 months now. He was dumped by a hunter in Spain. He's great. He's got so much character and he's so confident as well. So I'm hoping, and he's already using his nose as well. I just find tennis balls, and we haven't done anything serious with him yet. But I need to get my trainer to have a look at him as well, see if she thinks of.
How was Freya? How was Freya with Obi?
She's better, actually. She's better than Nuki. So it's kind of gone. Freya's kind of mothered Obi quite a bit. She's like, "Oh, okay, you're young. I can let you off with that." Whereas obviously Nuki was a bit older and the first dog other than Freya into the family. So Freya will play with Obi, well, her version of playing, which she's being dragged around. And Nuki has the issue. He's the one who's like, "Oh, I want to be the only man in the house." And I think he gets a bit jealous, and especially when Obi's like cuddled up to me. It was just a bit like, oh.
Was there...
Which I thought Nikki would want to play with Obi. I'd be like, it would have been quite nice for him to. But yeah, I think we'll get there. It's still early days. We only had him a couple of months, so it takes a bit of time, doesn't it?
Did you notice much of a change in behaviour in Freya the first time round?
What, when we got Nikki?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, she there was one. She's a bit of a diva. So there was one time I was with my trainer and we were training Freya. We were working with newts sort of out in the open. And obviously we have to make sure she's very sort of careful. And so when she came to the newt, we had to be very sort of gentle and, so not too excitable. So she doesn't go, ooh, and then like put a paw on it or whatever. So, so we did that. And then we put her away and then we got Nikki out, who was a bit shut down. So we were trying to open him up a bit. So it was completely opposite. Really excited, play with the ball. And, we put him back in, got Freya back out, and she just wouldn't search. She just sat there and she kept picking up apples. I looked at my trainer, I was like, what's she doing? She was like, she's jealous. She's really annoyed that you're playing with Nikki with so much enthusiasm, yet with her, you're just, you're not as enthusiastic, because obviously we've had to tone it down a bit because we're working with the species out and about. So I was like, oh my gosh, so just give her 10 minutes of play. So I did. I had a really good play with her, and then she's fine. That's why she's such a diva. Yeah, it was just so funny. It was just like human, I don't know, just the way she acts sometimes. It was like, are you sure you're a dog? And then she does very dog things like rolling poop, and I'm like, yeah, you are.
So has Freya got any like favourite places that she likes to go?
She loves working at night, I think, more than morning. In terms of she loves bounding through. I think we've got wheat fields down the road. She loves that. She loves the woods. I've got a horse a couple of fields away, so we walk over to him, and she loves bounding around and having a good play when I'm sorting him out. But yeah, no, she loves everywhere. She's a really happy dog. But yeah, she just loves working. That's her main joy, is just to be out working. And yeah, specifically at night, she's not so much. She's good in the morning, but I think her motivation really is incredible at night. She's a bit like her mum. I think not so much a morning person, more of a night owl. I guess like working full time, my training is usually after work at night. So since she's been young, we've kind of mainly done training at night. So since doing all this research, we started doing a lot more in the morning. So I've had to try to do more training sort of before work as well, just to get her used to. And obviously operationally, we do a lot of work in the morning as well. But yeah, no, she's, yeah.
Is there much travel involved when you work?
Not so much. So I'm Wessex Water. So Wessex region kind of covers quite a few different counties. So it's like Gloucestershire, Bristol, Bath, Dorset, Wiltshire, Somerset. And I think the maximum I have to travel is about 2 hours. So it's never really stopping over, which is great for Freya, I think. I think if she got a job where she was working all over the UK, I really don't think she would enjoy it so much. I think she does quite enjoy just, not so much time in the car, more time out working than sat in a crate in the car just waiting to work. So, yeah. Okay,
and you've just answered, she's crated when she's in the car? Yes.
Yeah, just safety reasons. We use like a crash-tested crate. It's probably safer than the car I'm in. So if I ever got into a car crash, she'd be absolutely fine. It's a nice crate. She doesn't mind it. It's just, I think she's happier out, like, searching and stuff than being sat in a car traveling from here, there, and everywhere.
Has she got any other social friends, animal friends?
She did when we were. Who's the last? She had a Shih Tzu. That was her. So it was a Shih Tzu crossed with a poodle. A Shih Tzu. That was her first friend, called Reggie. That was at this puppy club that we had, that we went to. She had like a Labrador. We've moved quite a few times now, so yeah, she kind of. But like I say, she's not so dog oriented. She loves people. I don't think she thinks she's a dog. She really loves people, and she'll go up to them and she'll give them a sniff. But she's not. Yeah, she's just not that bothered by them. She's definitely more people orientated.
Okay. So you just mentioned you've moved a couple of times, and I know now you're in a sort of more of a rural area where she's got a lot of access to fields and things like that. Has she always had that sort of environment, or that was a little bit more sort of back in the in suburbs and higher density, or?
So we're not like been in cities or anything like that. I can't stand cities. I love being out sort of rurally and just out in the countryside. So we were originally in Devon, and that was pretty rural, to be fair. And then so it's more like a village stroke town. And then we moved up to Bristol, and we were just sort of the outskirts of Bristol. So, but they were developing more and more, and it was getting more sort of enclosed. So, and the fields we used to walk in just got developed over. So, we managed to buy a house out on the outskirts of Bath. So we've still got sort of access into Bath, which is great. It's only 10 minutes from there. But we're properly out sort of in the sticks, which is wonderful, which she loves. Oh, it's nice. Just so quiet, and there's just horses around, and she loves it here. So do the other two dogs.
So when you've been out and about with her, has she had any sort of interesting interactions with any other species, even when she's been working?
Yes. So it was last year. We were walking. I've got this site, Hanson's Quarry, let me use their site for training. They've got a lovely big population of great crested newts there. And we were walking. There's like a 10-minute walk from where we park a car into the quarry. And we were walking through, and she was on a lead, and I just heard this like growling. So I pulled her back, and there was a badger sat in the middle of the path, just like hunched up, just growling, wouldn't shift for about 2 minutes. Me and my partner were just like, what do we do? So we just kind of waited, and then he just scuttled off. But that was quite an interesting interaction. Freya was just like, what the hell is that? Okay. But other than that, she gets on really well with my horse Jerry. He's like great with dogs. He just they'll just be eating his hay, and they'll kind of just be munching around next to him. And he's really good with dogs. So I think what else has she met? I mean, we meet all sorts of amphibians. We've seen slow worms out on the site. Again, she's not had any sort of interest indications on them. It's just great crested newts that she's looking for. But like any dog, it's kind of like, oh, kind of what's that? Oh, okay, it's not what I want. It's not what I'm looking for, but it's quite interesting.
How long would you be working with her on when she's working on the job, and do you do like put her on and have a break and then go back, or is there what sort of a set program do you have, if there is one?
So I try and work her for 20 minutes full intensity searching, because newt detection is really difficult. Like I was saying earlier, they can be below ground, and if you've got quite dense vegetation, you've really got to get that dog systematically and intricately searching every sort of, square inch of ground, because that might just be a tiny little sun particle that's come through, broken through the surface that she might get a whiff of. And if she's just running around doing wide area searches, it's not going to be that effective. We kind of work her, and it's so draining physically for her to be using her nose that intensely for that amount of time. So just to make her more effective, we try and do 20 minutes and then put her away for 20 minutes, have a 20-minute break, and then get her back out again, just so she's at optimal sort of effectiveness when she's searching. Make sure she's working at the best she can work without draining her and making her too tired and not enjoying it. Because the main thing is that she's having fun. If she's knackered and just not enjoying it anymore, it's not fun for her. It's not fun for me. It's not effective.
Would you say that she has any unique or particular or weird habits?
She has any weird habits? She did something weird. I think so. The dogs were having they were eating, stuff out of the Kong a few weeks ago. She'd already eaten hers, and the two boys were having theirs. And she really wanted what they were having, so she went in the kitchen, found this receipt, and started like tearing it up. So I went into the kitchen to see what she was doing. The two boys followed me. And she just ran back into the living room and started eating their Kong. I was like, wow, that is really intelligent. Use this distraction technique to get me up and the dogs out of the living room. She could go in and swing get their Kongs. I was like, that is incredible. She outsmarted me as well at that point. So I was like, oh, what are you doing? And she's so smart. It's just, I've never known a dog like her. Like I say, she's just one in a million. And I don't think I'll ever have a connection with another dog the same as I do with Freya. I love Nikki and Obi. We have great, connections, and it's so different, especially because they're rescues as well. But with Freya, because I've had her for 8 weeks, and we've gone through, she's my first dummy dog for doing all this new stuff. I'm learning, she's learning, and it's been an incredible journey. About to start my PhD, so that'll be another 4 years, and that'll kind of take her up to retirement as well. So that's quite a nice sort of journey.
Very nice, yes.
Yeah. So she's just one in a million, one of a kind. I think.
So you mentioned food. I don't know what sort of answer I'll get from you, but I ask everyone to complete the sentence, I can't believe my dog ate.
I can't believe my dog ate horse poop. She loves horse poop. Oh, God, yeah. So obviously I've got my horse, and I have to poop at the field, and she'll be there just running around, just having a great time. I don't know what it is about it, but they love it. Absolutely love it. But obviously she doesn't eat any Great Christian Newts. I've never been interested in it at all. But obviously that comes with training. I don't. Anyone looking at going into wildlife detection, just make sure you go to a trainer. Don't do it yourself, because there is always that possibility that they could injure the wildlife, and that's not what we want.
No. So what's in the sort of immediate future for her?
So we've got a license for this year. I need to capture 32 Great Crested Newts, a very specific number, for doing the trials this year. We're doing the translocation currently as part of Wessex Water operational work. So that is coming to an end in the next 10 days, hopefully. And then, so we've got research trials sort of August, September time. So we'll be looking at soil, substrate, how that influences detectability rates. Also, we're doing man versus dog trials as well. So we've got like a hand searcher. So one of our tools that we use currently is someone will be on the ground with doing like fingertip searches for the grassland, trying to find Great Crested Newts. So we've got these plots where we release newts into, and I'll have hand searcher look in one plot, and there'll be X number of newts in there, and then there'll be X number of newts in another plot, not pond. So we'll be trying to see who is more effective at finding the Great Crested Newts, like visually or using olfaction. So we got that this year, and then in the winter we kind of just do more bedbug detection to keep up the fitness outside, and then, or if the weather's okay, we'll use Great Crested Newts outside. Or inside we'll use Great Crested Newts if the weather's not great. So I've got my captive ones that I've got a license from Natural England to have.
So with the bedbug detection, do you do that commercially as well?
No. This is just it's just to keep up her fitness. I wouldn't have time around my current full-time working role. Obviously doing pipeline works, and we don't really counter bedbugs, to be honest. So, hopefully, unless there's like an old mattress in the field.
I'm guessing she much prefers to search outside rather than in someone's bedroom.
Yeah, she's not too bothered. Yeah, as long as she uses her nose, she's quite happy doing inside or outside, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, she finds it more interesting, I think, doing it at night time outside.
Mm-hmm.
She likes it.
And do you do anything specifically for her fitness?
Mainly just training, really. So yeah, I've started running quite a bit with her as well, but I find scent work is the best for increasing her fitness, just like physically, mentally. It's good to keep that up. I have to do a lot of training, outside of my current 40-hour working week. So I have to fit that in before or after work, and just to make sure all my free dogs are maintaining fitness. Obviously, Obi, we're restricted with how much time we can do with him, and it is just finding tennis balls. But with Freya and Nikki, they're pros now, so I have to ensure they maintain fitness and they're on a good diet and things like that.
Very nice. So you did mention diet. What is her sort of diet, and does she have a favourite food or snack?
She loves, she's on raw meat, which I found her energy's just gone through the roof with that. She was on a kibble diet before, but I think the kibble we were using my trainer looked at the packaging and was just like, it's not given as much energy. Try her on the raw feed, raw meat, and she's really, her coat and everything. I don't know, like physically, she's just the same with Yuki. Like their coats are really sort of nice. So, and their energy levels are really good as well. And she loves cheese, sausages, anything really. Poop. Horse poo. Then vegetables as well, and and blueberries as well, because I was listening to the podcast you had with Gemma, and you kept going on about blueberries, how it's a superfood, so you started using that
now. Nice. Can you think of a favourite downtime moment or scenario that you have with her?
We like cuddling up, watching, on the sofa, and just if we've been out and we've had a really good search, I love coming back and I'll give her a licky mat, and she'll just be sat there having a licky mat, and I'll just be sat there having a herbal tea, and we'll just be reflecting on like the night. How good it's been, and I love that moment, and just being like on a high that we just had such a good evening of searches, and just winding down after being out and doing stuff, and then coming back and just rewarding her with a nice licky mat. And
nice. This has been a very interesting conversation.
I'm glad.
If people wanted to actually hear more or find out more about newts and that type of conservation work, do you have any social links or anything, or suggest any sort of areas where they should look?
I do. So I'm on Facebook. I've just started my own Facebook page as well. So it's called Amphibian and Reptile Detection Dogs. I'm also on Instagram. So it's AR_detection dogs. And I'm also on LinkedIn. So you can find me on any of those. I post quite a lot of what we found in the field and sort of what we're doing research-wise and operational work as well. So,
That's been a really interesting conversation. I thank you very much for your time.
No problem. I'm going to go to bed now.
I'll look forward to catching up later on sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially after we've done all the research stuff as well. It would be cool to get back in touch and let you know how it's all gone.
Yes, thank you very much again.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening. I knew that you would enjoy this episode. As always, feel free to share this and any of the other episodes with your family, friends, and anyone else that loves dogs. It's always good to grow our little community, and again to see how awesome dogs are. Be really great if you could leave a review on whatever platform you are listening to this on. And until next time, stay safe and remember, your dog is family.